Hey guys, it's Alex. I know it's been a while since I've made a video, but I'm back. I've got another special one here for you, and this one is actually brought to you by Nomad and Peak Design indirectly. So Nomad and Peak Design, I saw recently, came out with a collaboration on one of their new cases. Nomad historically makes the rugged case, which is a very good, durable, kind of a rubbery case that's good for up to 15-foot drop protection, they say. And then they work together with Peak Design to integrate their Slim Link mounting system. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, ooh, this is really cool. I'd love to give that a try, because I've been using the Peak Design everyday case for a while now, a few years on the various phones that I've had. And my problem with them, not that there's a problem per se, but that because it's a fabric, it tends to get a little bit dirty. And it's not as rugged as I would like. So enter Nomad's solution. I hadn't found any real good videos on this case yet. So I actually reached out to Nomad, and they sent me a couple of cases for the different phones that I use, a 14 Pro and a 14 Pro Max that I use for just daily driver and content creation. So appreciate you guys for sending me this out. So let's get into our unboxing experience, and we'll take a look at them. So here we have the two phone cases. Like I said, 14 Pro, Pro Max. I've been using the one on my Pro for a few days now just to really test it out and give you my thoughts on it. So this box is empty, I'll set it to the side. And then this is for the Pro Max, which is actually the camera that's filming this overhead right now. I'll put it on when I'm done filming, but I'll give you my thoughts around the Pro version. So it's very similar to Peak Design. I've actually not bought anything from Nomad before. So I didn't really know what to expect as far as packaging, but it is actually, if you didn't tell me, I would think it was Peak Design. You know, they're climate friendly, carbon neutral, all that stuff. And this is all the Peak Design mounting system stuff that you get with that. You know, it works with their mobile ecosystem. You know, typical Nomad branding, packaging, all that good stuff. And you just pull it apart like that, and there's the case. Slide it out, that's empty, nothing in there. Case pops out like that, and that's it. Pretty minimal packaging. We'll get that off to the side. And this is the case. Like I say, this is for the 14 Pro Max version, but I have the exact same one. They sent me two of them for the 14 Pro as well. Thank you guys again for that. So this is something that I was a little unsure about, because like I'd say, it's a relatively new product, and cases are hit or miss for me. You know, they're either too big or they're too slim, or they don't protect enough. And so I saw this online and I was fascinated by it because I like the ruggedness, the look, the feel. Like, it just seemed like a really good option. You know, I considered buying like something similar to a Nomad case with the protection, but then you don't have this you know, mounting system, because I have the bike mount, the motorcycle mount. Like, I use this mounting system a lot, and to not have that baked into the case was just a little bit of a downer. But no more, they have it here. Hey guys, Future Alex here. I'm just editing this and I realized I left a couple of things out that I just completely forgot to mention. So number one, this case does work with all MagSafe accessories, all right? Like, it works with Peak Design stuff, but it also works with MagSafe. Like, I'm charging here with a MagSafe charger, the 14 Pro Max, like, it works. So you don't have to worry about that. The second thing is that this is only available, so far as I can tell, right now on iPhone 14 series and up. So if you got 13, 13 Pro, 12, anything older, this case is not available. I don't know if Nomad's planning on releasing older models, or if they're just starting with the 14 going forward. So if you have an older model and you want this case, sorry, you're out of luck. That's really kind of a bummer. So anyway, wanted to mention those things. So I'll give you my impressions on it, and after using it for a few days. A lot of people say that this is a fingerprint magnet, but I actually really don't think that it is. Here we go. I grabbed the case that I have been using on my 14 Pro Max off the camera here to show you the difference, because I was expecting something similar. This is by Taurus, and it's just an Amazon case that I got. You know, you can swap out the buttons here for like different colors that it comes with. Nothing too crazy, but it's got the MagSafe. You know, I think this was like a $30, $40 case maybe. So not bad, you know, MagSafe, but it is a fingerprint magnet. This is kind of like a rubbery jelly texture feel, so it's very kind of just soft TPU like you would expect. And that's exactly what I was thinking this would be, but it's not. So this is a huge fingerprint magnet, and it's just whatever, I deal with it. It is what it is, right? This one, not so much. This is actually like almost like a plastic or a glass. It almost has like a glass feel to it, which is weird to say, you know, and it is a little bit, it attracts fingerprints a little bit, but not bad. You can actually see through the case a little bit. I'm actually pressing through that. You know, that doesn't need to be super sturdy because it's just fabric there. It's the rest of the case. But there is a square magnet array inside here, so that the Peak Design system works with it. But as far as the fingerprints go, I've actually been pretty surprised by it. And this is the case on my 14 Pro, which is my daily, that I've been using for a few days now. And I haven't done any sort of cleaning or wipe down or nothing. Literally pull it out of my pocket when I got here. And that's it. You know, you can kind of see some of the magnet array and some fingerprints, but honestly, it's not bad. So if you're worried about it being a fingerprint magnet, don't. I think you're going to be completely fine. Like, yeah, there's nothing there. It's been a great case. You know, the inside is the Peak Design material, similar to the everyday case that I actually have here. And this is what I had been using on my 14 Pro all the way up until recently. So I had two main concerns with this case that I really wanted to test out and address, and that's really why I asked Nomad if I could test it out so I could answer these questions, is that because I use the Peak Design wallet, right, the wallet stand, it magnetizes to the back of the case in the phone, right? Peak Design's case actually has a slight cutout in the camera, so it doesn't interfere. If you can see that, like the camera bump actually is non-existent on the bottom because that's where the wallet sits. And I guess, like, in hindsight, now that I'm really looking at it, like, it may not interfere that much, but like that's right where the wallet sits. So I was concerned that that might be the case with this case, but lo and behold, that is not the case with this case, right? It bumps right up to the bottom and you have no issues with it right there. So that's great. I slapped it on as soon as I got it, and I'm like, okay, that's great that it actually fits. And it's sturdy, it's solid. Like the wallet, it's actually a little harder to get off, which I like. You know, it doesn't slide sideways like this one tends to because of the nature of it. This is actually much harder to move sideways because of these little bumpers on the bottom, which is another feature of the case. And it's just a feature of the Nomad case in general, the rugged case anyway, is that it has these little lips and these bumpers around the four corners. Again, another thing that I thought, ooh, I don't know if I'm gonna like that or not, because I kind of am a fan of thinner cases. I don't particularly care for the bulkiness, especially around the pinky area where I'm holding it. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna like that. It is nice that it doesn't rock. Like, I can take the wallet off and the phone does not rock. That is solid. So that's actually been a pretty nice quality of life feature. But like I said, I was concerned with these bumpers getting in the way of my hand, but they really don't. It doesn't at all. It gives me just a little bit of extra grip here in the palm to grab it. And of course I have the Nomad wallpapers loaded on the phone, which is awesome. I'm actually a really big fan of this wallpaper. You can get it on their website for free. And yeah, these corners are great, actually. I really do like them. Like I said, I've never used a Nomad case before, so I was kind of going into this completely blind. So these are just my initial thoughts and impressions after getting the case. And so far I've been quite impressed by it. Moving on to the side of the case here, you have kind of like a rugged button. It's kind of got a texture to it, which I like. And the buttons on this feel really, really good. Honestly, I think I like the way they feel better than the Peak Design case, which had some issues with the 12 and the 13 series. The buttons didn't press quite right. I think they figured it out with this 14 Pro. So the buttons on this case are actually really good with the 14 Pro. But as soon as I put this in and started pressing buttons, I'm like, oh, this is like way better. It's just got such a nice sound and a nice feel to it that I just am in love with. So it's great. Volume rocker cutout, you know, it's not anything too deep, so I can still flip the switch. It's not a big deal. It's a great design. It's simple, it's minimal. The bumpers of the cases, there's slight edges to it. You can kind of see, like, the top kind of goes up and it kind of chambers around the corners. I don't even know if that's the right word to use, but you know what I mean. It's kind of got like a slight bump around the outside corners, which again, I was afraid I wouldn't like, but I actually really do, because you don't hardly notice it at all. And it just gives your fingers just a tiny bit of edge to be able to grab onto, which is quite nice. And again, speaking on the side, there's like little indentations in these little rails. So it's kind of like indented ever so slightly. There's just a little bit of a swoop on the edge, so you don't have these sharp edges like you do on the native iPhone. Peak Design kind of did the whole rounded edge thing, just a little bit rounded outside. This gives you more of a concave channel for your fingers to actually grab, which I actually really like. I didn't know if I would like that or not, but I really do. So this thing's very comfortable. It's comfortable to hold. You know, like I say, Nomad says it will survive up to a 15-foot drop. I've not tested that. I don't really plan on testing it, but I do a lot of mountain biking. I do a lot of, you know, outdoor activities and hiking, and I get this thing dirty. It'll get greasy, and that was the problem that I ran into at the Peak Design case. Is because it's fabric, it's hard to clean, and it's just not as protective as some other cases out there, especially with this lens cutout. The camera bump cutout being open to the bottom, something could jam the underside of the lens, and I didn't really care for that. Don't get me wrong, it's a great case, but I think it's a great case if you never get out and do anything like rugged, or you don't have dirty hands, which is something I do probably more than once a week, is I have scenarios where it's just not great. You know, I'm always needing to take my phone case off and clean it, or it gets dropped, but this thing has been fantastic. No issues, no complaints whatsoever. Like I said, thank you so much again to Nomad for sending me these. This case is going to go on the camera that's filming this overhead shot, because I do use it as an extra bit of content creation capture that I do, as well as my main phone that I use every day. So those are really my thoughts on the Peak Design case. You know, I don't need to demonstrate how the Slim Link system works with the square. If you know Peak Design, if you have any of their products, you know exactly how that works. The magnets are strong. They're actually, oh my gosh, I would say they're almost a little bit stronger in this case than the Peak Design. Like, that comes off with a certain degree of difficulty. If I had to rate it on a scale of like 1 to 10, that's like a 5 difficulty. Maybe a 6. Like, you got to be a little intentional to get it off, but you can just slide it, right? This is actually like, it stays, oh, that's like an 8 difficulty maybe. Like, that's on there, and then you can slide it off too, but it's not going to get accidentally bumped off. You got to really be intentional to rip it off. That's the word I'd use to describe it, is you got to rip it off, which is great. So I love this system. I think it's great. You know, like I say, it has the square magnetic array. It's fantastic. I think that if you're in the market like I am, where you're kind of looking for something rugged in the Peak Design ecosystem, but you don't really want to buy a rugged case and then slap the Peak Design adapter on it, this is going to be your best bet. It's awesome. Retails for $60 through Nomad's website. I can leave the link in the description below. Go check it out, get one for yourself. Let me know if you like it or not. Let me know if you have one, or if you have any other Peak Design gear. I'm prone to collecting a bit of it, so I have quite a lot. The one final note that I noticed that this does not have that other Peak Design products do is there's no serial number at the bottom. Typically with other Peak Design products, you have this serial number etched in, and that lets you register your product with Peak Design for their lifetime warranty, so that if there's a defect, if something happens where the Slim Link system just like rips out or something, they'll replace the product for you. And that's something I don't see in here. I don't know if that's something that was overlooked or that Peak Design's unable to do with their partnership with Nomad. But either way, that's not in there. Would have been kind of cool to see, but I get it because it's not a completely solely Peak Design product. They have some limitations in working together, I'm sure. Hey, I forgot to mention something as I'm editing this. So I actually took the case off of my phone, and I remembered to mention about screen protectors. I'm using on my 14 Pro a screen protector that really kind of goes edge to edge as much as possible. And I've run into issues with that in the past, specifically with some Peak Design cases from a similar brand. But the everyday case has worked well with this, and this case works with that screen protector just fine. So you should be all right, but just know that you may or may not run into issues with that because it does come very close to the edge of the screen, kind of as you can see around there on the 14 Pro Max version. So it does get a little bit close to the edge, but not bad. And then on just a side note, I don't know if this is a quality issue or not. Like I said, this video is sponsored by Nomad. They sent me the units, but I can be honest in what I'm telling them is that when I took this off, there was a lot of creaking. And if I do that, bending, you know, it's a very sturdy case. It doesn't bend a lot like this TPU one would, but you know, it creaks about as well as you would expect a sturdy case to, but there's like a cracking sound, almost like there's glue in there that's coming up and coming undone. And that's a little bit unsettling. Let me try it with this case here real quick. It's a little bit sturdy to get on and off. It's not difficult. I would just say it's rigid. Oh, yeah. Like that. Like, I mean, I'm not going to bend it in half, but just bending it a little bit, you can hear some bit of creaking. You know, not bad. Obviously, you're not going to be sitting there bending your case. It's going to stay on your phone, but just know that like as I took it off, it naturally bent, and I heard some creaking and cracking because of that. We'll slap this on, and it's good. You really got to push down on all the corners to make sure they're all seated in there properly, and then it's in. Same thing with the big one. We'll get the larger one in here, and that's in. And it kind of feels like they're not quite in all the way. But it is, because there's actually some thickness. You know, the side buttons are not dead center. It's shifted towards the front of the screen just a little bit. And that's just some added thickness on the back side. So it's a little bit of a odd feeling case if you're in tune to that sort of thing. But it's not bad. I still would highly recommend this case. I would give it probably 9.5 out of 10. As far as design goes, it's just phenomenal. And one last side note, on this glass back, it's not glass. I don't even know what kind of material it is. Maybe somebody can tell me, or Nomad can tell me. It feels like glass. The closest thing I can get the feeling to is if you have a MacBook Pro, it's like this material here. Like, not the keys. The keys are plastic, but it's like the material behind the keys, this black. It's like a glass, plastic, like a soft. It feels very similar in texture to that. So that's about the closest thing that I would equate it to. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Again, this is the Nomad and Peak Design rugged case. I guess you could call it the rugged everyday case because it's kind of a mixture of the two, right? And so it's a fantastic case. A little bit on the expensive side at $60, but when your alternative is the Apple leather case, this is going to give you so much more functionality if you don't need the leather that you're getting in the Apple case. So this is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.